How do you want to do this? Just switch off every question?
Who do you think the media targets with sexually explicit shows like Grey's Anatomy, Gossip Girl, The Tudors, and late night HBO?
Well, considering some of those are ones I've heard of from you watching them, and from other girls watching them our age, I would say, I guess, probably not just females, but people around our age group, I guess, young adult. Does that make sense?
Could you give a year, more specific time frame?
Well, things like when you mentioned like Gossip Girl and stuff, I'm thinking 13 to 19, 20, something like that. But Grey's Anatomy, a lot of older women watch that too. So sorry.
Why do you think sex is glorified in popular music?
Well, by popular music, immediately I'm thinking again of that same age group. And for, I would say, unfortunately, as young as 13 to about our age or a little older, sex is kind of a big part of our lives in the sense that a lot of, like, this is sort of the years when we're figuring out our own sexual identities and first getting boyfriends and girlfriends, and yeah.
Where did you first encounter sexuality? Not as in the first time you had sex, but in like the first time you encountered the idea of sexuality.
When I was 5 years old, my neighbor told me sex was naked kissing. That's the first thing I thought of, I guess.
And so, that was your first encounter with the idea of sex?
Yes. That was my first impression of sex.
Who do you think has the most influence on teens' views of sex? Like parents, media?
I wish I could say parents, but I don't think parents influence as hugely as would probably be most beneficial. Media definitely has its own subconscious and conscious innuendo to it, whether we like it or not, and that probably gets us on a lot of different levels. So it's definitely a big one. Our friends, too, peers, definitely who you hang out with.
But if you had to pick the major contributor?
Who you hang out with. I think your peers.
What do you think the general view of sex is among teens?
Man, that the general view.
What do kids think of sex?
I think they think it's. This isn't true for everybody, of course, but from a lot of things I've encountered, I think that it's not, in a lot of ways it's still a special thing, but I think also it's sort of a part of growing up and kind of well, it's definitely this time in your life when I think a lot of people view it as a really fun thing.
What are your views of sexual education in public schools?
I think it's important. I think it's definitely important.
What do you think they should teach in schools?
Well, I think they shouldn't be afraid to get really detailed about things and really just be really open about the facts about, there's STDs obviously and just sex in general, and the emotional part of it too I think is important to cover. I don't know if we necessarily cover the emotional part of it with sex education, but maybe that's really up to us.
What do you think the average age for the first time is?
The average age? Well, as far as I encountered, I would say probably like 16-ish.
Why do you think sex plays such a large role in our media culture?
Because I think a large portion of the media, magazines and television and movies, is really geared towards young adults, and I think that they understand that it's something that's on a lot of young people's minds, I guess, and it's like kind of an easy way to reach them or target them, get their attention.
Thank you.
Welcome.